Have you ever opened your wardrobe and realised that you don't actually wear most of what you've sewn? If this question feels worryingly close to home, I want to reassure you that it's a common and most importantly, fixable problem. And I can say this from a place of experience because I've been there. So in my humble opinion, there are 5 reasons why your handmade clothes might not be being worn. And these are as follows. Number 1, you're sewing for the idea and not the lifestyle. So as I've mentioned before here on this channel, when I first started out sewing, I used to sew a lot of vintage inspired dresses because I thought they were beautiful and also because I have a love of vintage and historical fashion. However, as a busy mum who at that time had 2 very small children and a dog and spent most of her time working or being at home, I quickly realised that these dresses didn't really have a place in my day-to-day lifestyle. They weren't practical for the season of life that I was in, and therefore they weren't actually being worn. And all of my hard work and effort and pretty fabric was not being used and therefore was just sat in my wardrobe gathering dust. Reason number 2 is fit issues that we ignore or rush. Now this is a tricky one, isn't it? Because fitting is probably one of sewing's most difficult things to master. And I think it can be really tempting sometimes, particularly at the beginning of your sewing journey, to just rush through and maybe ignore a couple of the fitting issues. Maybe a shoulder feels too tight, or maybe a garment is pulling slightly over the bust when you try it on. We'd much rather rush to the end and get the satisfaction of having a completely sewn and finished garment rather than actually spending the time to sort out those fitting issues and therefore at the end having something that we feel comfortable wearing. Unfortunately though, it doesn't take long for those garments to also start gathering dust in the wardrobe when after a couple of wears we realise that actually we feel completely uncomfortable in that garment and would perhaps rather change into something ready to wear. Reason number 3 is that you've maybe chosen a fabric that doesn't suit your real life. Again, I am totally guilty of this, or I have been in the past, and I've spoken quite a lot on this channel recently about how I'm trying to change my relationship with buying fabric. Learning about the types of fabric that I like to wear has been an absolute game changer in my sewing life. I have thrown out or passed on or donated many a handmade garment because when I've come to wear it, I've realised that I just feel completely uncomfortable in the fabric that I've chosen, or I just don't like to wear it against my skin. The biggest case in point for me is that I love to wear fabrics that feel soft and comfortable and that move with my body. I really hate to feel restricted in any way. So often crisp shirts and dresses really aren't for me, and instead I will opt for a softer fabric such as a viscose or a rayon or maybe even a twill, something with a little bit more movement and drape. These days I do prefer to spend a little bit more on fabrics, knowing that overall the cost per wear will work out better. Reason number 4 is that you're perhaps sewing too quickly or even skipping the steps of a pattern. Again, guilty. Please don't judge me when I say that in the early days of my sewing, I would actively skip certain steps of a pattern if I maybe didn't understand the purpose of the technique or the longevity that it would give a garment once it was sewn. So some embarrassing examples might be skipping understitching because I didn't realise that actually taking the time to do that step would actually give me a much more wearable garment with a facing that didn't want to pop out to the right side of the garment every 5 seconds when I was wearing it. Or even not taking the time to measure or press a hem properly. I know one of my biggest mistakes in the early days of my sewing was not allowing a viscose dress to hang overnight and just rushing ahead to hem the garment to get it done, resulting in a very, very wonky hem that I just could not wear out of the house. It looks so bad. If you are a more experienced sewer, please do let me know in the comments if you're the same. I really don't want to feel alone here. And the final reason, and something I think is often the missing step, and that is intention. So intention for me looks like asking myself, why do I want to sew this garment? Is it because it will teach me a new skill or technique? Is it because it's something that's lacking in my wardrobe and maybe by sewing it I will therefore open up lots of other outfits options in my wardrobe because I'll be able to wear this new garment with other pieces that I already own? Is it because it will keep me warm on my dog walks, or is it because it's something that will help me to feel comfortable but put together on my working at home days when at the moment I'm just working at home in my scruffs? Also me, I can be very guilty of this, I have to say. And just so that you don't think I'm trying to rip all of the fun out of your sewing, is it just simply because you love the look of the pattern, or you want to use a fabric that you've had in your stash for ages is that you really, really love. And that can be fine as well, as long as the fabric fits in with point number 3, of course, and you're actually going to wear the garment at the end of your sewing time. So how do we change this potential cycle of having a handmade wardrobe full to bursting, but actually coming to it every morning and finding that we have nothing to wear, or nothing that we want to wear perhaps? I'm just going to go through 3 things that I think have really helped me to intentionally sew a handmade wardrobe that I love to wear over the last few years, because I have been on a journey, as we all are, to try and get this right. Number 1 is to sew with wardrobe gaps in mind. So something that I love to do is to regularly take stock of my own wardrobe. So I will go through everything and think about whether there's anything in my wardrobe that I'm not wearing and maybe why that is. And I do that with both my handmade and ready-to-wear clothes. If you're someone that likes to do this, you could experiment with putting a few different outfits together and taking a photo of them on your phone, keeping them in an album to refer back to when there are days when you're uninspired and you just don't know what to wear. This can be really, really helpful. But if after all of that you still find that there are garments in your wardrobe that just aren't being worn, be really honest with yourself and ask yourself why. Is it because you have nothing to wear that garment with? Is it because there are fitting issues and actually you don't feel comfortable wearing it? Is it because you actually hate the fabric that you've chosen to make that garment with? Do you not like the colour? Do you not like the texture of the fabric? Does it feel uncomfortable against your skin? And be really honest with yourself about why you're not wearing that item of clothing. If you do find that the reason you're not wearing a certain garment is because actually you do hate the colour or you do hate the fabric and you just don't want to wear it because of those things, then remove it from your wardrobe. Donate it to charity, give it to someone else that maybe could make use of it, but do not keep it in your wardrobe to make you feel guilty. One of the most uninspiring things, in my opinion, is not only having a handmade wardrobe full of things that you're not wearing, but also having a handmade wardrobe that makes you feel guilty every time you open it. Accept that you've maybe made a mistake, learn from it and move on. Another thing that's really helped me to sew an intentional handmade wardrobe that I love to wear is sewing fewer projects but with better outcomes. This is really something that I've taken on in my sewing life over the last couple of years, and it really has worked wonders for building a handmade wardrobe that I love. So I'm really thinking about quality over quantity, particularly where fabric is concerned. As I mentioned a little bit earlier in this video, I would now much rather invest in a high quality, really lovely feeling fabric that feels lovely and cozy and comfy and easy to wear than I would buy loads of different fabrics for maybe cheaper and have loads of garments that I'm just not comfortable wearing. Likewise, these days I really try to slow down with my sewing, not just churn out garment after garment, but with whatever I'm sewing these days, I really try to enjoy the process of sewing that garment rather than just rushing through to the end. And I find this much easier to do actually when I am sewing with a beautiful fabric that I really am pleased to be sewing with. So sometimes you could be sewing something really, really simple. For example, the top that I'm wearing today is just a simple sweatshirt. It doesn't take very long to make, but because I was using quite an expensive fabric, I really wanted to take my time with this make, enjoy the process, make sure that I made it to the best of my ability. I stripe matched where I could, and I got everything looking as nice as I could. And that, I think, just helps with the overall feeling that you really do want to wear what you've sewn. And in my experience, I know that the garments that I most enjoy wearing are actually the ones that I have put my best into, that I've really taken my time with. And I think I also remember how I feel when I was sewing that garment every time I wear it too, so it does just make it a little bit more special, I think. Another thing that I find really helpful is to let each project inform the next one. And what I mean by that is, with every project, you're going to learn something new. So with everything you sew, you're going to learn a little bit more about the type of fit you like in a garment, how much ease you like or how much ease you don't like, the types of necklines you like to wear, how much gathering you like to have around your waist, or maybe you don't like to have around your waist. Maybe you're someone that likes to wear a more sleek or fitted silhouette and you don't feel comfortable in that big billowy gathered dress that you sewed last summertime. Each make as well will teach us about the types of fabric that we like to wear. I know I keep coming back to fabric, but for me this really has been a game changer in my own sewing life, and probably something that I can't really talk about enough in terms of how helpful I have found it. But we are all really different, aren't we? You might be someone that feels much more comfortable in something really nice and crisp and structured. You might be someone who absolutely hates to wear fabrics that crease really easily, like linen or stiff cottons and things like that, or viscoses. Maybe you're someone that hates to iron and you really don't reach for those garments that crease more easily because you know that they're going to be more work for you. Each garment we sew also teaches us a little bit more about the type of sewing we like to do, doesn't it? So maybe you're someone that really likes a quick and easy knit sewing project, or maybe you're someone that prefers a more involved sewing project and you like to take your time over something, have it last a few days or a few weeks. And that can be really useful to know too. And when we ignore that kind of information, we tend to repeat the same frustrations, I think. So to close, everything that I've said today has been intended as a growth mindset for sewing an intentional handmade wardrobe. Of course, when you're just starting out sewing, it's absolutely normal and educational to want to sew all of the things. And that is actually how we learn, not only in terms of sewing techniques, but also in terms of what does and does not work for you. As I said earlier on in the video, I definitely do not want to strip all of the fun out of sewing. That was not my purpose today at all, but I think at some point in your sewing life, if this does become a thing that sticks with you, you will most probably want to narrow down and sew a little bit more intentionally. And so if you are feeling as though you have a full to bursting handmade wardrobe with nothing to wear, then I really hope there will be a few points in today's video that have been helpful for you. If you have enjoyed today's video, please do give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post sewing videos every Sunday at 8 AM. You can also follow me over on Instagram at Made by Sally Gauntlet, and I also have a Patreon where you can support me financially, and not only that, you will have access to a whole year's worth of back content, of extra videos, behind the scenes videos, tutorials, tips and tricks, and all that kind of stuff. I will link that below as well. Otherwise, take care everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you in another video soon. Bye.